is that you have laws that protect anybody in any possible situation. And by putting those in place and following them, we are protecting future us that might need those laws. I think this is the sentiment. The problem with biblical law, and it's the problem with Torah in general, you have to read across it quite a bit to
Mhm.
pick up what's going on, right?
Yes.
And you may have seen some of my other writing and public discourse on daily devotional readings and how, you know, everything I'm saying cannot be picked up in a daily devotional reading. Even if you read the
Right.
Torah, 5 times in a row over the year or something like that, you really have to sit down and work through across these laws and through the stories and think. You have to think, and I don't mean by yourself, I should say y'all in community. You have to think how these things are tied together. So I grant that it's not obvious at first to people who are coming from an entirely different legal mindset, who don't live in an agrarian subsistence world where our problem is we have too many calories. We're in the exact opposite problem of every Israelite. We have too many calories. We have too much safety, too much security. And so now our problems are almost entirely revolving around our leisure and what we do with our leisure time and our leisure money,
Mhm.
which turns out creates lots of problems as well. Like apparently everybody being filthy rich in America doesn't solve all of our problems. So the opposite here is, I'm avoiding the word safety net because I don't think that's, I know there's some like political trigger words here,
Mhm.
but I do think that there is this other person thinking that is in the Torah. Ironically, it often gets attributed to Jesus, right? So love your neighbor as
Mhm.
yourself actually ends, a few inches down on the Leviticus scroll as love the foreigner as yourself, right? So it starts with
Mhm.
something a little bit easier and ends with something a little bit more difficult. You shall have the same laws for the foreigner and the native born. So it's a lot of this like getting yourself outside of yourself, extending the natural boundaries of family and clan and protection and security in a fairly harsh world, extending
Mhm.
those the tent pegs out to include people that are not natural to include. The only reason you would include a foreigner is if you took them as a slave, right?
Mhm.
The only reason you'd include people who weren't in your family is if you were going to bring them in a lower position, basically.
Mhm.
So this is everywhere. So as soon as we're thinking in terms of love your neighbor as yourself, you're already in the realm of this. What would it be like if I were to if my crops were to fail and I were to slip into poverty?
Mhm.
Or I shouldn't pity that person. I should imagine me being that person, how I would want somebody to treat me in that situation. I think the best statement of this is the second statement of love in Leviticus 19. Love the foreigner as yourself, for you were once foreigners in the land of Egypt, and I am Yahweh. Right. So it clearly
Yes.
pulls out this. You were vulnerable, and it's how I treated you. And of course, this gets
Mhm.
reiterated in Paul later. Right. He loved us while we were yet sinners, kind of mentality.